Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
It's never too early to set expectations and goals for your child's education. The UA College Savings Plan provides opportunities that can help you reach your educational savings goals. Save in Alaska. Study anywhere. There is more information available by calling 1-888, the number 4, and then Alaska. This message sponsored by the UA College Savings Plan.
Alyeska Pipeline Service Company, Alaska's pipeline to the future, delivering oil today, sustaining operations for tomorrow, committed to safety, operating the 800-mile Trans-Alaska Pipeline since 1977.
The National Weather Service.
Hey everyone, thanks again for joining us here at KAKM for another live broadcast this Friday of Alaska Weather. On the chart today, or on the graphic here again, plugging the tsunami warning test that's going to take place March 27th at 10:15 in the morning, and then there'll be the Alaska shakeout at 1:36 p.m. that day. And if you want more information on this, go to the website and just follow several links there. You can get everything you want to know about the tsunami test coming up. On yesterday's Goes West here, we had low pressure south of the Aleutians. This front right through here, today that's pushed up like this. Low pressure area here pushed off to the east, dissipated. But the front really weak now up here through the Bering Sea. This portion edging its way eastward into the eastern Aleutians, but another system developing back here, winding up as it came across northern Japan there. Heading up to the northeast and eventually tracking northward. That promises to bring some gales into the western Aleutians tonight, and that front will push eastward but weaken on Sunday for less wind. But also yesterday here for the GOES imagery, we had really a lot of clear skies here again off the from the Gulf of Alaska all the way up to the Arctic coast. There looks like some clouds here on the west side trailing back, all that moisture coming up over that big area of high pressure over the interior. And so some of that just kind of skipping along the northwest coast there and through the Bering Strait areas. And then a lot of sunshine, a few clouds there over the southeast coast. You can see that front yesterday swinging up something like this. And then all this moisture today has pushed right up to the southeast coast. Another band coming back to the west there and brought some light rain and snow, very light rain and snow, areas of, mostly just a lot of clouds coming back over Kodiak Island with snow showers, rain and snow showers extending up over the Gulf of Alaska area here. And that caught up in the northeast breeze there, and that brought a little bit of moisture to areas of Kodiak Island today. More of a cloud condition than rain or snow, but there were some areas of rain this afternoon along the Alaska Peninsula, all the way out to Unalaska, meeting up with that batch of moisture there coming with this front, but really weakening right through this area here. A little bit of light rain may have made it out to Atka today, but over the interior, high pressure holding, pretty strong high pressure there from the Northwest Territories with that central pressure at 1,048 millibars. But that ridge extends all the way across the northern interior into the Russian Far East, so that's put easterly wind flow around that right out into the Bering Sea. So a lot of fair skies out here with northeast winds, not all that strong, but in the 10 to 20, 25 mile per hour range, few higher gusts locally, but nothing too serious there. Not keeping the clear skies out to the coastline there. Pretty good day over Bristol Bay. You can see this system pushing some rain, although not as heavy as you might think looking at the satellite here in the front. Just some light rain, mostly was off the coast. Some of that beginning to push inland there for some areas of rain in the south, less up here to the north, but some flurries north of the mountains over the northwest Canada here. Some of that mostly just clouds trying to get in toward the Northway area, but generally pretty clear skies There was some variable cloudiness that moved into the northwest part of the state, a couple of weak troughs there, as well as the Arctic coast. Those troughs dropping east-southeastward, and then some of that high-level moisture kind of pulls southward there in across the Yukon Valley, but no precipitation with that. That pattern will continue through tonight. It'll likely keep the lows a little bit higher than what they would be if the clouds weren't there, but still dropping into the 20 to 25 below range, just like this morning there. Light winds, clear skies, lows 20 to 30 below for the north slope tonight, milder out toward the Arctic coast, but very fair conditions here. High pressure, St. Lawrence Island. That's going to make for some fairly light winds. It'll still be northeasterly, a little on the brisk side, but the gradient not too bad here along the coast, but remaining east and northeast with the trough down here to the south and the higher pressure up to the north. So that's going to keep the dry air coming out of the interior. Could put some clear skies all the way out to the Pribilos, but then you're going to have this leftover moisture here with these troughs swinging up in toward Kodiak Island and the Alaska Peninsula. Rain or snow tonight, depending upon your elevation. Probably be in the form of snow from up there south of King Salmon all the way down to the peninsula, but nothing too heavy in these areas. Occasional rain over the southern southeast coast. Some of that could be mixed at higher elevation, staying dry, mostly clear over the northern panhandle. There's still those gusty north and northeast winds in the passes there of the northern areas, and some variable cloudiness, maybe some flurries trying to make it west of the border there, but even if it does, it won't amount to very much at all. And out to the west, you can see after this break, pretty tight gradient ahead of that frontal system, which late tonight, pushed the gales into the western Aleutians, and that will gradually edge its way eastward on Saturday tomorrow, but the whole front will begin to weaken, so we should lose the gales by the afternoon. Just small craft advisories left over. Pretty light winds, Adak, Yatka, all the way over to the eastern Aleutians. Picking up easterly here, low center down off the chart. Easterly winds on the north side of that system, 15 to 25 miles per hour. Occasional rain or snow showers. Actually, scattered would be a better term. Cloudy skies with scattered rain or snow showers, depending on your elevation. Probably all in the form of rain during the afternoon hours. Some of that moisture could slip into the southeast Bering Sea, but at this point, it looks like it'll stay well to the east of the Pribilof Islands. No change over the interior tomorrow day, much like today up there, with maybe less in the way of cloudiness along the Arctic coast, and it looks pretty fair here over the southeast coast. Still a dry northeast wind flow there, but there's still a risk of a rain or snow shower. Very slight chance here over the southern areas. Most of that will be down over the Queen Charlotte's Dixon entrance or off into British Columbia. And for Sunday, no change again over the interior. High pressure holding, not budging at all there over the Northwest Territories. This center weakening a little bit, but not much. We have a disturbance coming up over the top of the ridge, actually breaking off from this moisture, coming in something like that, but at this point in time, it only looks like it'll bring a few clouds into the eastern Arctic coastal areas, maybe a short ways to the south. That's about it. Dry, mostly clear, VFR. Light winds, very light winds along the entire Arctic coast. Maybe the strongest winds will be about 15 miles an hour here over the Chukchi Sea, and a little bit more of a breeze from the southeast, more of a southeast wind now developing here over the eastern Bering Sea, especially south of Nunivak Island. Wind's pretty light here, maybe up to 20 knots there over the northern Bering Sea, and that's going to pull that moisture northward. That very persistent area of moisture right in here continues on Sunday in the form of light rain, drizzle, or fog across the Alaska Peninsula. It probably means some IFR to go along with it, and that's going to track right up that trough boundary there. Be mostly in the form of snow, but light snow and fog up across the northern Bering. And then this front here, again, weakening considerably, just a chance of rain making it to Nikolsky late in the afternoon. Winds pretty light for the eastern Aleutians in advance of that. Then a more vigorous Arctic cold front coming in from the west or west-southwest into the Aleutians there. For a good shot of snow, small craft advisory westerlies followed by numerous snow showers. And the outlook or the temperatures around south central Alaska at 4 p.m. look like this: 40 to 45 degrees there across the Kenai Peninsula, about 10 degrees cooler up the inlet in Anchorage and the valley, 25 at Gulkana, contrast that with 42 at Cordova, about the same in Yakutat. Up to the north, Tanana Valley, 20s to lower 30s there. Fairbanks, one of the warmer locations plotted here at 31 degrees. 9 at Anatuvik, 10 degrees at Arctic Village. They came up from a low of about 25 below, as did the the Fort Yukon, Chokyitzuk areas. That'll be about the same tonight there. Up along the Arctic coast, 10 to 15 degrees for the highs, and mostly in the lower to mid-teens here over the northwest part of the state. 27 on the south side of the peninsula there at Nome, to lower 20s both at Unalakleet and St. Michael. But St. Mary's just 12 degrees, 16 at Macoriac, 20 at Bethel, 25 McGrath, and a 23 at Anvik. And heading out to the Aleutians, mostly or the Alaska Peninsula. Bristol Bay, 34 King Salmon, 41 Akiak, 42 at Cold Bay, 39 Sand Point, and lower 30s there for the Pribilofs, just edging above freezing, 39 at Unalaska. And tonight the lows will be in the upper 30s out there over the Aleutians. Otherwise the interior, again, 20 to 25 below over the northeast. Generally below zero there, 0 to 15 below for the Tanana Valley areas. And single numbers in teens, mostly under the teens here over the southwest interior, but quite a warm up as you get down in toward Bristol Bay. 20s and 30s for the Panhandle, 0 to 15 above here for the south central Alaska region. And for the highs tomorrow, upper 30s for the Aleutians and the Alaska Peninsula to near 40, say Kodiak and Atka. Lower 20s, St. Lawrence Island, 20s to lower 30s here over the interior, mid to upper 30s along the south of the mountains here, and along the coast to 40s over the Panhandle. Flying weather, easterly winds across the Gulf of Alaska, again VFR over much of the Gulf of Alaska along the coast here, but could be some marginal stuff from the southern southeast coast to IFR, mostly south of the Chiniak Marmot Bay areas down around towards Sitkinak, and then some of that banking up along the Alaska Peninsula on the Pacific side. Areas of marginal VFR, next front bringing IFR eastward to about Amchitka midday tomorrow. So passes all wide open, all ceilings and visibilities unlimited here, especially for the Alaska range, and actually for the Brooks range as well. VFR conditions tomorrow and likely Sunday as well for all the passes. VFR, no change, wide open. So going on to the freezing levels. At the surface here tomorrow morning, right along the coastline, close to Kodiak Island, and then the south winds pulling that warmer air 2,000 to 4,000 feet right up into the western Bering Sea, warmest air down over the western Aleutians. Icing threats, isolated moderate rime icing below 12,000 feet coming in with the milder conditions, so a deeper moisture layer out there slipping up, and roughly 9,000 to 11,000 feet in this area. Again, nothing too serious, but the greatest threat will be along this moisture boundary here across the Gulf and in across the southern southeast coast, coastal areas. And the upper level wind flow chart showing a big high pressure area aloft continuing, but we have this upper low backing westward and across the Alaska Peninsula with the associated moisture with that to about this position tomorrow, but the main jet well up into the Arctic and then plunging southward there into northwest Canada. Very weak northerly flow here, making for something of a trough here, and that's why the chance of showers continues for the extreme southern southeast coast and Dixon entrance. 9,000 foot winds, kind of a band of 30 to 35 knot winds from the central interior right out to St. Lawrence Island, and extending a little bit to the south here up to 25 at this level along the North Gulf Coast. Pretty light for the Panhandle and only about 20 knots for the peninsula. Then the much stronger winds ahead of the front, especially early in the day tomorrow for the far western Aleutians. And at 3,000 feet, much the same pattern. Strongest will be out here with that next system trying to push eastward, but they're not going to get too much farther to the east than this. And high pressure, light winds, but on the southern boundary of this ridge, kind of a wind max even at this level, 20 to 30 knots, right out into the St. Lawrence Island area. But you notice get just to the south and it drops off pretty rapidly to just 5 to 10 here over southern Alaska. Light variable winds at 3,000 feet for the Panhandle. Could see some easterlies up to 30 knots here with that easterly flow coming up and around the north side of that low center that's just barely on the map there, but dropping back to 20 knots. Light variable winds here for the eastern Aleutians. That's going to continue there for even into Sunday there. In fact, you'll lose the 20 knots here and tend to pick it up here toward Adak and Atka, but light and variable for the Fox Islands and the stronger winds back out to the west. And for turbulence, again, with that band of easterlies there through the central interior, could be some areas of isolated moderate chop. I'll blow about 7,000 feet, especially for small aircraft and bumpy stuff out to St. Lawrence Island. But by far the most turbulent areas of the moderate variety will be across the western and central Aleutians, and maybe some light to isolated moderate turbulence there for Kodiak Island, spilling across the Aleutian Range into Bristol Bay, and also just catching maybe the eastern Arctic coast. And after hangar flying, I'll be back with a look at the marine forecasts.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Harry Keeling, and on behalf of the Alaskan Aviation Safety Foundation and Alaska Public Media, welcome to Hangar Flying. This evening, our guest is an Army officer with an extraordinary career. Mr. Jimmy Keys has served in the active Army and the National Guard. He's been stationed around the globe from Panama to New York to Iraq. He's both fixed wing and rotary wing qualified. He's flown the King Air, the Sherpa, Black Hawk, Huey, to name just a few. In addition to many flying courses that he has attended, he's a graduate of the Aviation Safety Officer course. Jimmy, welcome to Hangar Flying.
Thank you, Harry. Thanks. Glad to be here.
And thank you for your service.
It's an honor.
One of the reasons I wanted to have you on the show was your involvement in the recent designation of Class D airspace for Bryant Army Airfield. If my memory serves me right, at one time we had Class D airspace there, and we're now going back to it. So why are we going back to Class D?
Well, there's a couple of reasons. We anticipate the traffic flow to increase, but also to enhance safety. As most of the viewers that fly in this area at least know, we have a natural corridor through there, or a pathway, I like to call it. It's not a true official VFR corridor, but between the mountains to the east, the military property, Bryant, Elmendorf, Fort Richardson, the restricted area, Romeo 2203, and then the water. Most pilots at low altitudes are a little bit concerned about flying over water, especially single engine. So we have that natural pathway that funnels a lot of traffic through there, north and south, either way. And of course, just east of the highway are the small arms ranges for USRAC, the Army. So it doesn't relieve the pilots of their responsibility to see and avoid, but with the Class D and them communicating with Class D, possibly transitioning through the Class D, maybe even invited to come through, there's that extra set of eyes. Again, it doesn't relieve them of responsibility, but somebody else can see stuff. Advisories going to the south or the north as they leave the Class D as well.
Well, I think you hit on two key words. Safety, aviation safety, and also an extra set of eyes. A lot of traffic in there, and frankly, I think that that's going to be a great addition for safety. And what I like is the fact that you designed the eastern boundary of the Class D airspace as the Glen Highway. I mean, even though it may not be perfectly cylindrical like many Class D airspaces are, pilots can go and say, you know, I just need to stay east of the highway, or I need to be talking to the tower if I'm in the Class D airspace. So one of the things that I think is important, and I stress to folks I fly with, is talk to somebody that might give you an extra set of eyeballs. And of course, going that way, approach control is there. They can see it, particularly if you've got a transponder. And of course, approach control is on 119.1. But what about Bryant? Would it be useful for a aircraft that's transiting VFR just to the east of the corridor? Would it be useful to check in with the tower when they fly past it?
Absolutely. I've flown in a lot of places up here throughout the lower 48, across the continent, and even if I'm close to a Class D but not going to penetrate it or transition to it, I still might call. It's kind of a judgment call at the moment as I'm traveling through. Does it look like I'm going to make them nervous even though I'm outside the Class D? Is it required? No. But is it a little safer? Absolutely.
Good.
So it doesn't hurt at all. I'd encourage it.
So I think what we're telling our viewers is, if you're flying up there, you could be talking to approach control on 119.1, or you could be talking to Bryant, which is 125.0.
Exactly, 125.0.
And the tower hours of operation?
Right now, the tower hours of operation is going to be from 8 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon.
And that determines whether the Class D airspace is active, right?
Correct. It'll only be active during the tower operations.
A little different question, Jimmy, and we're just about out of time. Got about a minute, but you mentioned the small arms range. Talk about the CFA control fire area.
Control firing areas are just that. They are small arms ranges, and they're not depicted on any aviation charts. Example, the sectional, VFR sectionals. And the reason they're not, and I can equate them to the Isaac Walton ranges at Birchwood, those are not on there either. Any place you go, small arms ranges are not, because the responsibility or the onus is on the user of the small arms range. So if an aircraft comes within a certain boundary that they have determined, again, the aircraft doesn't have to know where that is, they have spotters and they'll cease fire until that aircraft is clear of those boundaries they have determined. So that's why they're not depicted. But it doesn't hurt to know that they're there and know what you're flying over. Another reason I would say that Bryant Class D is going to provide an extra measure of safety. They can contact Bryant even if they're going to transition. Once they make that contact, they actually can transition Bryant unless they're told not to. But most likely, we're going to encourage them to come through. And they, in that case, they can sidestep to the west a little bit, and they can avoid those ranges doing two things. It's a little bit safer because people aren't shooting, although they should have stopped. But also, you know, the world gets smaller, so we affect each other, everything we do. So a lot of times, you know, it slows down their training because it puts it on hold for a little bit, for a few minutes or whatever. So.
Well, listen, I appreciate those words. I think it'll be very useful to folks flying around Anchorage, either if they're stationed here and flying here all the time or transiting the area. I want to get you back on the program because I really want to talk a little bit about some of your flying experiences and your perspective on flying safety. Appreciate you being on the program tonight, and I'll get you back on probably next time.
Okay, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed tonight's program, and until next time, fly safe.
Welcome back. Well, the wind flow today is pretty much paralleling the ice edge here. So that was keeping the Pribilofs just on the plus side of freezing today. And it'll continue to tomorrow. And then again, the flow becomes more southeast to northwest on Sunday. So if anything, we'll start to see the main ice edge here begin to retreat back a little bit late in the weekend. Otherwise, today for Sunday here for the southeast coast, northerlies down to 25 knots. Still could see some gales tomorrow there. Otherwise, east to northeast diminishing. Lightest, again, this is the Sunday forecast. Things got a little mixed up here. Lightest winds up to the north there, but all staying in that east to east-northeasterly range. Could see some small craft advisories here along the south coast there. Again, that next system beginning to approach from the southwest. So these coming up late in the day. And then for us, Saturday tomorrow, do things in the reverse. Still could see some 35-knot winds early in the day, but these will all be trending down throughout the afternoon hours. 15 to 20, maybe some 25-knot higher gusts here out of the channeled areas, but lightest in the south. Southeasterlies at about 20 over the southern inside waters. South central Alaska, Cook Inlet, light north winds tomorrow. A little brisk here from the central inlet or southern inlet through Shelikof Strait, and easterlies at about 30 knots at times for the we'll call it just small craft advisories back out into the extreme far western Gulf, but then getting lighter and quite light up across Prince William Sound. I'd call it just about light and variable for the Sound on Sunday there. Same thing for northern Cook Inlet, barely a breeze at all. Picking up northeast 10 to 15 knots down into the southern areas, about 20 through Shelikof Strait. Small craft advisories again from Kodiak Island, all from the northeast now right up to the western Gulf Coast. And for Bristol Bay, northeast 25 knots, brisk wind advisories there, and easterlies at about 25 on the Bering side of the peninsula. Lightest winds will be there from about Sandpoint out to Cape Sarachef, and small crafts back to the northeast. Then for Sunday, 30-knot northeasterlies now, southwest of Kodiak, turning to the east here on the southern side of the peninsula. East also, but lighter, down to 20 knots on the Bering Sea side. Northeast 20 to 22 knots or so, a little bit stronger winds, probably more of a 25-knot wind out back into this area. For the Aleutians on the eastern areas tomorrow, 15 to 20 knot northeast winds there. Easterlies 15 to 20 also for the central Aleutians, but ahead of that front, look for gales, and that'll be inching its way eastward throughout the day tomorrow in toward the Kiska-Amchitka area. And then that front pushes eastward. Small craft advisories is all it's going to be able to due for Sunday. And then southwest 25 as that colder air comes in behind the cold front there over the western Aleutians, but pretty light winds here, just 10 to 15 knots for the Fox Islands. For the southwest coast, easterlies 25 knots here. South of the Nunivak Island, less wind up to the north, 15 to 20 knots, all from the east, from the Pribilofs right up to Gamble. And then for Sunday, these winds turning more southeasterly here, but nothing too strong, 15 to 20 knots, holding east. Not too strong here either, 15 to 20 knots as well. Up along the Arctic coast, maybe some westerlies, 15 to possibly 20 knots from the northwest there toward Kaktovik and Demarcation Point, but pretty light westerlies there, the central coast, 15 knots possible here along the west side, southeast 15, Kotzebue Sound and in toward the Chukchi Sea. Then that will, on Sunday, that will turn south here for the Chukchi Sea, keeping it 15 knots in this area, but 10 knots for Sunday. They're coming around Cape Lisburne and Point Hope. Real light winds up here on the north, call it westerly, coming down, actually just 5 to 10 knots here from the east side all the way to the central coast, and could be light and variable here, even down around the normally windy Point Lay area in that whole marine zone. That all due to high pressure holding in this area. Got one trough exiting the area tonight, really not doing much at all, but producing some clouds. Some of that variable cloudiness will slip on down into the eastern interior again, but clear skies, light winds, some higher elevations could see a little bit of an east-northeast breeze, especially out toward the coast. Occasionally damp here, rain or snow. Kodiak Island, light amounts extending out to the Alaska Peninsula. Just some clouds now, scattered snow showers over the Bering Sea. Rain there for the southeast coast moves out and changes over to showers, and then another batch poised to move in mostly Sunday evening.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Cook Inlet Tug and Barge is a marine transportation company specializing in harbor services with a primary marketing focus on the Port of Anchorage, providing their customers with quality-based service specifically tailored to their needs.
alaskapublic.org. The power of Alaska Public